For nearly 2 years, the Gaza Strip has been the core of conflict, devastation, and humanitarian crisis. The densely populated territory, home to over 2 million Palestinians, has faced relentless military action that has left Gaza City, its largest urban center, in ruins. Now Israel's Security Cabinet, after intense debates, has greenlit Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's bold and controversial plan to take control of Gaza City as the first phase of a possible full occupation of the territory. This military operation aims to forcibly relocate nearly 1 million Palestinians by October 7th, while simultaneously maintaining a siege on Hamas. But what will this mean for the future of Gaza, the detainees, and the broader region? How will Israel balance military goals with growing international dissent? Tonight we ask, what's next after Israel's decision to occupy Gaza City? And until when will the international community stand still to such aggression? Welcome to In Depth. Israel's Security Cabinet has led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has approved a plan to take control of Gaza City as part of the ongoing 22-month offensive in Gaza that has caused extensive destruction and famine. According to the plan, involves a significant military operation aiming to occupy approximately 25% of Gaza, including Gaza City, and to forcibly relocate about 1 million Palestinians to southern areas of the Strip by October 7th. Netanyahu stressed Israel's intent to remove Hamas and secure its borders, but also stated Israel does not intend to govern Gaza long term. The plan faces opposition from military leaders, detainee families, fearing further risks and international criticism, including from the UN and the UK leaders, who warn of dire humanitarian consequences and escalating violence. Throughout the Gaza war, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly claimed he is close to defeating Hamas with one more military maneuver. New York Times stated that in March and May of this year, broad military campaigns failed to dislodge Hamas, while Palestinian civilians are pushed towards starvation. Now Netanyahu's cabinet has approved preparations to capture Gaza City, aiming for full control of Gaza. This latest operation risks becoming another strategic dead end as Hamas still holds detainees and civilians suffer a worsening humanitarian crisis. Critics argue Netanyahu prioritizes political interests and his far-right coalitions call for total Hamas destruction over military council and humanitarian concerns, prolonging the conflict despite global pressure to end the war. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has strongly condemned Israel's decision to escalate military operations by planning to occupy Gaza City, describing it as wrong and warning it will only fuel more bloodshed. According to Politico, Starmer urged the Israeli government to immediately reconsider, emphasizing that this move does not offer a solution to the conflict or facilitate the release of detainees held by Hamas. He called for a ceasefire, increased humanitarian aid, and a negotiated resolution, insisting Hamas must disarm and not play a role in Gaza's future. The British government and allies are pushing for a two-state peace solution, but progress is hampered by lack of good faith negotiations. Starmer's stance aligns with growing international criticism, including from the UN and countries like Germany, which announced it would halt arms exports to Israel in response to the escalating offensive and worsening humanitarian crisis. Turkey and Spain have also criticized Israel's intensified campaign, urging immediate halts and restraint. Now, to explore these unfolding dynamics, we turn now to two distinguished guests. Dr. Nurhan Sheikh, political science professor from Cairo, specialized in regional diplomacy and conflict resolution, and Al-Amira Rasha Yusri, an Israeli affairs expert from Cairo. Now, let me start here with Professor Nurhan Sheikh. And how do you interpret Israel's decision to occupy Gaza City? What could be the strategic objectives behind Israel's decision?
Good evening, and thank you for having me with you. Actually, I think it is part of the Israeli plan declared by Netanyahu and the UN itself in September 2023, when he showed a map of Israel without West Bank, without Gaza. So it is part of, I think, of his plan to occupy Gaza, to occupy West Bank. Maybe he has some problems, if we can say, internationally, and from Arab countries, from Egypt, some resistance here or there, some demonstrations inside. But I think his intention is clear. He's supported, highly supported by the cabinet, by also as well as the fundamentalists in Israel and the far right in Israel. So I think it's nothing new. It is part of his intentions, of his plans, declared by him clearly within, unfortunately, the UN. Nobody commented at that time from the international community, and nobody expressed criticism to such a plan and to such map, except Egypt and the Arab countries.
Now, Ms. Yusri, what are the main points, or were the main points, of course, of contention within Israel's security cabinet regarding this decision?
Well, thank you for hosting me. Of course, I'd like to greet all your audience as well. And in regards to your question, is very crucial because it reflects the division inside the Israeli state, because from the beginning Israel is trying to say that its priorities is to release detainees inside Gaza and Palestinian factions, but this decision taken by cabinet, known as mini cabinet, refers to the importance of detainees, is wearing off in the eyes of Israeli government, and it's not on the top priorities as was declared by Israeli government from the beginning. Now we are witnessing from the beginning of the war, from the attempts to reach an agreement between Israel and Hamas. Israel consists attempts to reach a point of view to in front of the media is that was totally different from what is taking place on the ground. Every now and then we find a new plan, a new idea, a new hope gives us by the U.S. Through its envoy, saying that their negotiations will take place, and that the detainees will now be in their homes soon. This decision made by cabinet, the mini cabinet, throws at the wall all UN charter and international law also is very risky at the Tunis, which is very well known, and we're aware among the streets of Israel and the cabinet as well.
We have not touched upon the contentious points between the cabinet and the army of what we're speaking about, but we'll get to that again. Professor El Sheikh, what impact is the planned forced relocation of up to 1 million Palestinians likely to have on the humanitarian situation in Gaza?
I think it is a disaster would come not only for the Palestinians but for the Israelis as well. It is not an easy operation, as Netanyahu and what would be happen, and it may be like a strategic trap to Israel and to the Israeli army. So I don't think it would be that Netanyahu thinks. So it will be a disaster first of all for the Palestinians. But by the way, Israel now occupied maybe 80% of Gaza Strip. So only 20 left. So I think that this is the calculation of Netanyahu, that they have already occupied 80%, and he thinks that it is easy to control the rest of 20%, but vice versa, inside and outside Israel, many warning about what would happen, and that it would be a trap by a way or another to Israeli army. What we are interested in, not what will happen to Israel, it's their own and their decision, but as you mentioned, the Palestinian people, the million Palestinians who would be displaced, killed, they are already now under fire, hunger. So they are killed either by shooting or by living in hunger. So this is a war situation. The most important thing is that his ambitions and his dreams wouldn't stop on Gaza. The next step would be the West Bank. So this is it means that 2.5 million people from West Bank would be displaced. That will cause a mass in the region. It would have a very dangerous consequences, not only for the neighbor countries like Egypt or Jordan, but I think for the whole Middle East region, and it would, by a way or another, would have an international consequences on the international security as well.
Mr. Yusri, can you elaborate more, as we spoke about before, the Security Cabinet and what they said? Can you elaborate more on the statements of the forces chief, Eyal Zamir's, and his opposition, and to the occupation of, or the full occupation of Gaza, and the significance of that in the context of Israeli military strategy?
Let me talk first of all on the opposition, the army opposition.
Yes.
Army opposition to military operations is now, and can you hear me?
Yes, I do. I can hear you. Do you want me to repeat the question? So again, let me repeat the question. Mr. Yusri, can you elaborate on the Israeli occupation forces chief, Eyal Zamir's opposition to the decision of Netanyahu, and the significance of this in the context of Israeli military strategy?
Like to elaborate that this is not the first time that Israeli army opposes a decision to invade an area inside Gaza. The army clearly opposed invading Rafah and occupying the corridor between Egypt and Palestine, and that was maybe the reason for the Yoav Galan stepping down, and this is not new. And this is the scenario or the narrative of Israel. Maybe this occupation is harmful to Israel and will result in killing many soldiers in Israel. They think it will have counter attacks and sparking clashes between fractions and Israeli army, which will make it more complicated. Everyone is lost or killed in army, and the army is a negative point in Netanyahu's governance. This is not. This decision is nothing in the majority. This opposition is nothing in the majority of plan of approval. They said that they oppose the plan as long as it leads to a agreement with Hamas. They are trying to liquidate Hamas and have a new deal, then withdrawal. This is a new again. Then this declarement was made saying that they do not need and want any agreement with Hamas, and they want for operations leading to full occupation. But if this operation will have Israeli and governmental Israeli government on the Gaza Strip, they agree. I would like to clarify now that the whole world now is in a real test to curb this problem, this country to invade or occupy a country that is not the right to do so. This is a test for the international community. Germany said, declaring that they will stop exporting arms or weapons to Israel, and they called their ambassador to express the rejection for this operation. International leader, if not standing together to stop this horrific military operations that want to invade or occupy lands they don't have the right in, they will have decisions will not being unstoppable, and the results, the consequences will be dire, and they will never be able to do anything in front of Israel country.
Now, Professor Sheikha, what risks does this military escalation pose to regional stability in the whole Middle East?
I think that would, by way or another, escalating the whole conflicts and the crisis all over the Middle East. This is a very aggressive decision, unwise from my point of view. It wouldn't, by all means, will be a very easy operation. Now they are pushing troops to Gaza. Hamas and the other, yes, along the 2 years, they maybe lost many of the leaders, etc., but they still can resist strongly what will happen, and that will cause escalation of the conflict, more death, more human violations and humanitarian violation in Gaza, and it will be a big mess. I think also that mess will including Israel. I don't know what, according to what calculation they based their own decision, only their ambitions, their political calculation, but even the military one, if they really calculate what is going on the ground, what would be happen, I think they can rethink about their decision. But unfortunately, they only pushed by their ambition to power, only to power, and to stay in power, nothing else. regards all humanitarian or logic even and strategic factors. They didn't pay any attention to that. Even the voices from inside Israel who are now calling for a ceasefire, for returning the hostage through diplomacy and through negotiation. All those, they are neglecting all that. With that operation, I think we are going to very critical situation in the whole Middle East, and a lot of what we can call very hard consequences, both humanitarian and military, we will face, and that will include all countries in the region, plus even the great powers, including the United States itself. Now we are witnessing what is going on within the United States, also those voices against Israel and what is going on in Europe, the same. But I think.
But the United States, Ms. Sheikh, did not really reject what Netanyahu was speaking about, or what the decision, what they spoke about the decision, because what we heard from Marco Rubio about the two-state solution and its inability to be made on the ground was something very harsh to be told from the U.S. Secretary. And it doesn't seem like the American diplomacy or policy or foreign policy is really putting any kind of pressures on Israel in what it is carrying out with.
This is true. Unfortunately, the administration of Trump and Trump himself is totally friendly support Israel. And he forgot what he promised. He promised during his campaign the American Muslims that he would stop the war in Gaza, and ceasefire will be very soon. But unfortunately, he didn't fulfill his commitment yet. More worse that there is no one word from Trump or his administration about two-state solution. They deny all rights of Palestinians to have a state. This is very dangerous. I think Israel itself wouldn't be safe unless a Palestinian is safe. A full independent one, a safe one, would be established very soon and declared. All factors of states and all elements of states is there. The authority, people, land, everything is there. Only recognition from the whole world, and that started strongly also. We are now following recognition from many European countries. This is very important. And by a way or another, we should force Israel and the United States, or the administration of Trump in particular, to accept that because it is de facto. Palestinian is there, Palestinian people is there, and the state is coming by all means.
But recognition with no deeds on the grounds are nothing. Let me get here back to Ms. Yusri. And Ms. Yusri, how is Netanyahu's narrative of not intending to govern Gaza long-term being received by the Israeli public and political factions?
I tell you that this kind of narratives is a reflect of confusion inside Israel. It may reassure the detainees' families that we will reach ceasefire eventually. But Netanyahu and his government, we witness and we see that what they do, it reflects vagueness in decision making. Every day we have a new decision that you may say something and do another thing. But this opposition we talked about inside the cabinet is a tactical tactics to get to take over Palestinian, suddenly reoccupy the Gaza Strip. But his narrative is not important, whether inside or outside Israel.
No, Ms. Yusri, Ms. Yusri, let me here again repeat what I meant here. Now, Netanyahu has said that he intends not to govern Gaza long term. What did this mean? How is that perceived internally and definitely on the international scale?
This this decision markets the idea of making limited operation inside Gaza with no intention to occupy Gaza, and this military operation may be the one to reach an agreement, but this is what they say. But in reality, they were talking about constant and long-term occupation in Gaza, and they said in the many cabinet they described it as a very important operation, and Israel will occupy Gaza to displace more than 2 million people and 1 million people to the south, and siege completely and hampering humanitarian access. This forms great concern on the Tunisian side, and on the military side, the inability to the army to the long-term standing. Also, remarks on two-state solution. They want to pose in a point of view with hope, with no intention to occupy the Gaza, because since Sharon and the agreement, they say that there is an importance to occupy the Gaza. Maybe the two-state solution is important to reach
definitely very clear, very clear. What we need here is very clear to the whole, to the international community, to everybody in the region. I guess we have to thank you both, Professor Nurhan Sheikh and Al-Amira Rasha Yusri, for your insights and for the analysis on this urgent and evolving issues. I guess that concludes our episode today of In Depth. Many thanks for joining us, and stay for more updates on Qnews.